Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 134 of Learn English with Podcast Conversation. I'm Thomas, and we're excited to have you join us. Today's topic is all about mastering small talk in English, something that can make conversations easier and more enjoyable.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer. Small talk is an essential skill for building connections, whether you're at work, a social event, or even meeting someone for the first time. If you're new here, we upload podcasts that help you learn phrases, improve understanding, and grow your confidence.
That's right, Jennifer. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical examples and tips to confidently start and sustain small talk. So, grab a cup of tea or coffee and join us as we explore this important part of communication in English.
Let's start with greetings. When meeting someone, a simple hi, "How are you?" works well. It's polite and shows interest. You can also ask, "How's your day going?" These are universal and can fit most situations.
Exactly, and when someone responds, try to engage by adding a comment. For example, if they say, "I'm doing great," you can reply, "That's good to hear." What's been keeping you busy lately? It keeps the conversation flowing naturally.
Another tip is to notice your surroundings. If you're at an event, you could say, "The decoration here is amazing, don't you think?" This invites them to share their opinion and starts a casual conversation.
Observations are powerful. If it's sunny, say, "What a beautiful day." Are you enjoying the weather? If you're in a queue, try, "This line is long, isn't it?" It creates shared understanding, breaking the ice.
Don't forget the power of compliments. For instance, "I like your jacket. Where did you get it?" Compliments make people feel appreciated and open up the dialogue further.
Absolutely, and always be genuine. People can sense sincerity. A heartfelt compliment or observation leaves a lasting impression, helping you connect better.
Now, some people feel nervous about small talk. One way to stay calm is to focus on listening. When you actively listen, you'll naturally find questions to ask and build rapport.
Right. Remember, small talk isn't about being perfect. It's about showing interest and being friendly. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become.
Let's dive into responding. If someone asks how you are, avoid just saying, "I'm fine." You can add something like, "I'm good, thanks. I've been working on a new project. How about you?" It invites them to share more.
That's a great example. When someone shares something, don't stop at "that's nice." Instead, say, "That sounds interesting. How did you get into that?" It shows genuine curiosity.
Also, prepare a few topics in advance. Think about your interests, recent movies, or current events. For example, you might say, "Have you seen any good movies recently?" It gives them an easy way to respond.
Yes, and keep it light. Small talk isn't the time for deep or controversial topics. Stick to positive, neutral subjects like hobbies, travel, or food. For instance, do you enjoy cooking? I've been trying new recipes lately.
If the conversation feels stuck, try to shift the topic smoothly. You could say, "By the way, I heard you like hiking. Do you have any favorite trails?" Changing subjects can reignite interest.
That's a good point, and humor can work wonders. A light joke or funny observation can instantly ease tension. For example, "I tried cooking once. The fire alarm didn't approve." Humor makes you more relatable.
At the same time, be mindful of cultural differences. In some cultures, asking about family or work may be common, while in others, it might feel too personal. Pay attention to their comfort level.
That's so important. Respecting boundaries while staying friendly makes your small talk meaningful and enjoyable. Small steps like these build confidence in your English skills.
Now, let's talk about closing a small talk conversation politely. If you need to leave, say, "It was great talking to you. I hope we can catch up again soon." It leaves a positive impression.
Yes, or you can add something specific. For instance, "I'd love to hear more about your travel experiences." Maybe we can chat later. It shows genuine interest in staying connected.
Don't forget to exchange contact details if appropriate. Say, do you have a business card? Or can I add you on LinkedIn? It's a professional way to keep in touch, especially at networking events.
Or, if it's casual, do you mind if I add you on social media? It would be nice to stay in touch. These phrases work well to transition from small talk to potential friendship or collaboration.
Finally, reflect on the conversation. Think about what worked and where you felt unsure. Use that to improve next time. Small talk is a skill, and every interaction helps you grow.
Well said, Jennifer. Each conversation is a chance to learn. With practice, you'll not only become better at small talk, but also build meaningful connections along the way.
Now, let's focus on the tone of your voice. When engaging in small talk, your tone can make a huge difference. Try to keep it warm and friendly, not too high-pitched or monotone. A pleasant tone helps maintain a comfortable flow in the conversation.
That's a great point, Jennifer. Your tone sets the mood for the interaction. For example, if you're asking about someone's day, saying how's your day been, with a relaxed and welcoming tone can encourage a positive response.
Exactly, and it's also important to adjust your tone based on the situation. If you're at a formal gathering, you might want to sound a little more professional, but in casual settings, keep it light and upbeat. Small talk should be fun, not stiff.
Right, Jennifer. If you're talking to someone at work or a professional event, you might want to say, I've heard a lot about your recent project. How's it going? This sounds polite and shows interest while also maintaining professionalism.
Another tip, when someone asks you a question, don't feel pressured to give a long response. If they ask, how's your weekend going? Simply say, it's been great. I spent some time with family and caught up on some much-needed rest. It's quick, yet informative.
That's a great way to keep the conversation flowing. Keeping your answers concise but still offering a little detail makes the conversation more enjoyable for both sides. Small talk isn't about long speeches, just simple, engaging exchanges.
And let's not forget body language. Even though we're talking about conversation, nonverbal cues are important. A smile, eye contact, and nodding to show you're listening can strengthen your connection with the person.
Yes, body language says a lot without words. It tells the person you're present, interested, and approachable. A friendly posture, like facing the person with open gestures, adds warmth to your small talk and makes you appear more engaged.
Let's talk about follow-up questions. They are key to keeping the conversation going. If someone says, I just moved to this city, you can respond with, oh, really? How are you finding it so far? What made you move here? It shows curiosity and keeps the discussion flowing.
That's a great example, and remember, follow-up questions don't always have to be personal. If someone mentions their favorite food, you could say, what's the best place to get that dish here? It's a neutral topic, but it keeps the conversation moving forward.
Also, make sure your questions aren't too intense for the situation. Small talk is about light, easy topics. If someone shares that they just finished a big project, you could ask, that sounds interesting. What was the most fun part about it? Simple and non-invasive.
Absolutely. When you ask open-ended questions like that, it allows the other person to share as much or as little as they want. It keeps the conversation light and respectful of personal boundaries.
Here's another tip. Don't be afraid to share something personal, but keep it balanced. If someone talks about their favorite vacation spot, you can share yours too. For example, I love going to the beach. Have you ever been to any tropical islands? It helps build a more equal exchange.
Yes, Jennifer. Sharing a little bit about yourself makes you more relatable and approachable. However, make sure to let the other person share as well. Small talk is a two-way street, and it's about creating a comfortable space for both sides.
Another key to mastering small talk is being aware of the context. If you're at a party, for example, you can talk about the food, the music, or the atmosphere. These are all neutral and easy topics that everyone can engage in.
Exactly. Context makes a big difference. At a work conference, small talk could revolve around the industry, the speakers, or the company. It's always important to adapt your conversation to where you are and who you're talking to.
Let's talk about timing now. Small talk shouldn't last forever, but it should last long enough to establish a connection. If you find that the conversation is starting to lose energy, it might be time to wrap it up with a polite closing.
Right. If you feel the conversation running its course, you could say, "It was great chatting with you. I'd love to continue our conversation another time." It's polite, and it signals that you enjoyed the talk but are ready to move on.
And don't forget to use their name during the conversation. It creates a personal touch and shows that you're paying attention. For example, "It's been great talking to you, Sarah. I'll catch up with you later." People like hearing their name. It's friendly and thoughtful.
That's a great tip, Jennifer. Using someone's name builds rapport and makes the conversation feel more personal. It's a subtle but effective way to keep things warm and friendly.
When you're talking with a group, the same principles apply. Instead of just talking to one person, engage with everyone by saying something like, "So, what do you think about this, Maria?" It keeps the group dynamic alive and ensures everyone feels involved.
Exactly. Group small talk can sometimes be tricky, but it's important to involve everyone. A simple question like, "What do you all think about the music here?" can get everyone involved and make the conversation more inclusive.
Small talk doesn't have to be perfect, but it does take practice. The more you engage in these kinds of conversations, the more natural it becomes. You'll gain confidence and become better at reading social cues.
That's the key. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Remember, small talk is about creating connections and keeping things light. Keep practicing, and you'll soon be a pro at it.
Now let's focus on how to handle awkward silences during small talk. These moments happen to everyone, and it's completely normal. The key is not to panic. A good way to handle it is by asking a simple question, like, "What's been keeping you busy lately?"
That's a great suggestion. Awkward silences are often an opportunity to redirect the conversation. You can also mention something from earlier, like, "You mentioned you enjoy hiking. What's your favorite trail?" It's a smooth way to keep things going without stress.
Another trick is to use your surroundings. If you're at a cafe, you could say, "This place has such a cozy vibe. Have you been here before?" It's a non-intrusive way to restart the conversation, and people usually appreciate comments about shared experiences.
Yes, environment-based comments work well. At an event, you could say, "This is such a great turnout. Have you attended one of these before?" It keeps things light and gives the other person something easy to respond to.
When you're dealing with silence, it's also okay to let it breathe for a second. Not every moment needs to be filled. A smile or a sip of your drink can help reset the rhythm naturally, giving the other person a moment to think of what to say next.
That's an important point. Sometimes silence isn't awkward, it's just part of the flow. If you stay relaxed, it's less likely to feel uncomfortable for either of you. Confidence and patience are key in those moments.
One more thing to keep in mind: don't over-apologize for silences. If you're constantly saying, "Sorry, I'm bad at small talk," it can make the situation more awkward. Instead, focus on being present and showing interest in the other person.
Absolutely, being self-critical during a conversation can create unnecessary tension. Instead, focus on enjoying the interaction. Small talk isn't about perfection, it's about building a connection, no matter how simple the conversation may seem.
Let's shift to a skill that can elevate your small talk storytelling. Sharing a short, engaging story can make you more memorable. For instance, if someone asks about your weekend, instead of saying, "It was fine," share a quick anecdote, like visiting a farmer's market.
That's a great strategy, Jennifer. People love stories because they're relatable and often spark new topics. If someone mentions traveling, you could say, I once got lost in Paris trying to find a bakery. It turned into an adventure I'll never forget. It's personal yet lighthearted.
Exactly. The key is to keep your story relevant and brief. You don't want to dominate the conversation. Instead, use your story as a stepping stone for the other person to share their own experiences, creating a back-and-forth dialogue.
Yes, balance is important. After sharing your story, you can ask a follow-up question like, have you ever had an experience like that? It shows you're interested in their perspective, not just sharing your own.
Another tip for storytelling is to focus on positive or funny moments. Small talk is meant to be enjoyable, so avoid overly serious or sad stories. Keep things light and cheerful to maintain the right atmosphere.
That's a smart approach. Humor, when used appropriately, can make you more approachable. Even a simple line like, I spilled coffee all over my notes this morning, talk about starting the day off right, can make the other person smile and feel at ease.
And if you're not sure what to share, think about common experiences. For example, everyone has had a rainy day that didn't go as planned or a funny encounter with a pet. These kinds of stories are relatable and great for small talk.
Exactly. Relatable stories bridge the gap between strangers and create common ground. They make small talk feel less like an obligation and more like an enjoyable exchange. Just keep practicing, and your storytelling will improve naturally.
Let's touch on how to gracefully exit a small talk conversation. Sometimes you may need to move on without coming off as rude. A good way to do this is by thanking the person for their time and saying something like, it was lovely chatting with you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
That's a great tip. Another way to exit is by referencing your schedule. For example, I've really enjoyed talking, but I need to check in with a friend. Let's catch up again soon. It's polite and leaves the door open for future conversations.
You can also use a shared activity as a natural exit point. If you're at an event, say, I'm going to grab another drink, but it was great meeting you. This keeps things casual while signaling that the conversation is ending.
Yes, Jennifer, and it's also helpful to summarize the conversation before leaving. For instance, I'll definitely try that book recommendation you gave me. Thanks for the suggestion. It shows appreciation and ends the interaction on a positive note.
Another exit strategy is to introduce the person to someone else. If you're in a group setting, say you should meet my colleague, Sarah. She's also interested in hiking. This way, you're helping them connect with others while stepping away.
That's a thoughtful approach. It not only keeps the atmosphere friendly, but also shows that you value the person enough to connect them with someone else. It's a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Finally, don't forget to smile and maintain a positive tone when exiting. A warm take care or have a great evening can leave a lasting impression. Even a brief interaction can make someone's day brighter if it ends on a kind note.
That's a great reminder. The end of a conversation is just as important as the beginning. Leaving with kindness and positivity ensures the other person remembers the interaction in a good light, and it sets the stage for future conversations.
Let's dive into the topic of using compliments during small talk. Compliments can be a great icebreaker when they're genuine and specific. Instead of saying, you look nice, try, that jacket suits you, it's such a great color on you. This shows thoughtfulness and attention to detail.
Absolutely. Compliments work well when they're natural and relevant. If someone shares an idea, you could say, that's a smart way to approach it, I wouldn't have thought of that. It acknowledges their input and makes them feel appreciated, boosting the conversation's flow.
It's also important to avoid overdoing it. Compliments are most effective when used sparingly. If you compliment every little thing, it can come across as insincere. Choose moments that genuinely stand out and highlight them to make a meaningful connection.
I agree. A well-placed compliment can build rapport instantly. For example, if someone is hosting an event, you can say, "This is such a well-organized gathering. You've done an amazing job." It shows you've noticed their efforts and value their contributions.
Compliments can also encourage the other person to share more about themselves. For instance, if you compliment their choice of book, they might open up about their favorite genres or authors. It's a subtle way to steer the conversation into interesting territory.
That's a good point. Compliments often act as conversation starters. If you say, "I love your watch, it's really unique," they might share a story about where they got it or why it's special to them. It creates opportunities for deeper dialogue.
And remember, the tone matters. Compliments delivered with warmth and sincerity are far more impactful than those said in passing. A smile or positive body language can enhance your words and make your compliment feel more heartfelt.
Exactly. The way you deliver a compliment can make all the difference. Pair it with eye contact and a genuine smile, and it will resonate more. People remember how you made them feel, and a thoughtful compliment can leave a lasting impression.
Let's move on to handling interruptions during small talk. Interruptions are common, especially in busy environments. If someone cuts in, stay calm and acknowledge them politely, like, "I'd love to hear your thoughts, but let me finish this point quickly."
That's a great approach, Jennifer. Handling interruptions gracefully shows emotional intelligence. If someone interrupts repeatedly, you can gently say, "I'd appreciate it if I could finish what I was saying first." It sets boundaries while keeping the tone respectful.
Another strategy is to refocus the conversation. If an interruption takes the discussion off track, bring it back by saying, "As we were discussing earlier," or back to what you were saying about your weekend. This keeps things organized and flowing smoothly.
Yes, and if the interruption is unavoidable, like a waiter at a cafe, you can pause briefly, then pick up where you left off. For instance, "Sorry about that, where were we?" "Oh, yes, you were sharing about your hiking trip." It shows attentiveness and keeps the conversation alive.
Interruptions can also be an opportunity to include everyone in the conversation. If someone jumps in, you might say, "That's interesting, what's your take on this topic?" It ensures everyone feels heard and valued, creating a more inclusive interaction.
Inclusivity is key, especially in group settings. Encouraging multiple perspectives can enrich the dialogue. However, it's also important to ensure the original speaker gets a chance to finish their thoughts without feeling overshadowed.
Exactly. Balancing the dynamic in a group is essential. You can mediate by saying, "Let's hear from Sarah first, and then we'll circle back to your point, Mark." It keeps the conversation fair and organized while showing respect for everyone involved.
That's a great way to manage interruptions tactfully. Clear communication and a positive tone are crucial in such situations. When handled well, interruptions don't have to derail a conversation, they can even add energy and new insights to it.
Let's talk about the importance of following up after small talk. If you've had a good conversation, sending a quick message later, like, "It was great chatting with you today. Let's stay in touch," can strengthen the connection and keep the dialogue open.
Following up is a fantastic idea. It shows that you value the interaction and want to build on it. You can also reference something specific from your conversation, like, "I checked out that restaurant you mentioned, it's amazing." This makes your follow-up feel personal and engaging.
Yes, and following up doesn't always have to be immediate. A few days later, you might say, "I was thinking about what you said regarding travel tips. Do you have any suggestions for planning a trip to Italy?" It's a thoughtful way to reignite the conversation.
That's a good point. Follow-ups can also be opportunities to share something of value. If they mentioned a favorite hobby, you could send a relevant article or video saying, "I thought of you when I came across this, hope you find it interesting."
And let's not forget the importance of professional follow-ups. After networking or work-related small talk, sending a polite email such as, "It was great meeting you at the conference. I'd love to discuss collaboration opportunities," can leave a lasting impression.
Professional follow-ups are crucial for building meaningful relationships. Adding a personal touch, like, "I enjoyed our chat about new marketing trends," makes your message stand out while reminding them of your conversation.
Whether personal or professional, following up shows initiative and interest. It keeps the connection alive and opens doors for future interactions. It's a simple but powerful step that many people overlook in the art of small talk.
Absolutely, small talk may seem casual, but thoughtful follow-ups can turn a brief interaction into something impactful. It's about showing that you care and are willing to invest time in building genuine connections.
Another essential aspect of small talk is learning how to gracefully exit a conversation. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where the chat has run its course, and it's important to leave on a positive note. Saying something like, "It was lovely chatting with you. I hope we get to talk again soon," keeps the interaction friendly.
That's so true, Jennifer. Leaving a conversation on a good note ensures you maintain a positive impression. If you're at an event, you might add, "I'll let you mingle, but it was great meeting you." This way, you show consideration for their time and the context of the gathering.
If you're in a more professional setting, you can end by expressing gratitude. For example, "Thank you for sharing those insights. I'll definitely think more about what we discussed." This shows that you value their input and leaves the door open for future conversations.
Gratitude is a great way to end. It also works well in informal settings. For instance, if you're catching up with a friend, you could say, "I had such a great time talking with you. Let's plan to meet again soon." It feels warm and genuine, fostering a lasting connection.
Sometimes adding a specific follow-up can make the exit smoother. Saying, "I'll send you that article we talked about," or "Let's exchange contact details to stay in touch," shows that you're invested in maintaining the connection beyond that moment.
Absolutely, adding a next step makes the exit feel purposeful. For example, "I'd love to hear how your project turns out. Drop me a message when it's done," gives the other person a reason to continue the conversation later. It keeps things open-ended and engaging.
And don't forget to use body language while exiting. A smile, a firm handshake, or even a wave as you part ways reinforces the positivity of your words. These small gestures often leave a lasting impression.
You're right, Jennifer. A positive tone, good body language, and a clear but warm exit line can make all the difference. Leaving a conversation gracefully is just as important as starting it well. It's what people will remember about you.
Let's now focus on cultural differences in small talk. In some cultures, small talk is a vital part of communication, while in others, people may prefer to get straight to the point. Understanding these differences can help you navigate conversations more effectively.
Exactly, Jennifer. For example, in many English-speaking countries, topics like the weather or sports are common and considered safe for small talk. But in other cultures, asking personal questions like "How is your family?" might be more common and acceptable. That's a good observation. It's also important to note that the way small talk is approached can vary even within countries. For instance, in urban areas, conversations might be brief and to the point, while in rural settings, people might appreciate a longer, more personal chat.
Tone and body language are also significant. In some cultures, maintaining eye contact during small talk is essential as it shows attentiveness. In others, too much eye contact might feel intrusive. Adapting to these nuances can enhance your communication skills.
You're absolutely right. Understanding cultural differences also helps you avoid potential misunderstandings. For example, humor might be a great icebreaker in one culture, but in another, it might be seen as inappropriate in certain settings.
Another tip is to observe and adapt. When you're unsure, follow the lead of the person you're speaking with. Their tone, body language, and choice of topics can guide you on what's considered appropriate or engaging in that specific context.
That's great advice. Being mindful of cultural norms and showing respect for them not only helps in small talk but also builds trust and rapport. It's a valuable skill that makes you a more effective communicator in any setting.
Another great way to enhance your small talk is by asking open-ended questions. These questions encourage longer responses and deeper conversations. Instead of asking, "Did you have a good weekend?" try, "What did you enjoy most about your weekend?"
Open-ended questions are so powerful. They allow the other person to share more details and stories. Asking, "What's been keeping you busy lately?" is another great example. It gives the person freedom to talk about work, hobbies, or anything they find exciting.
Exactly, and these questions show genuine interest. If you ask, "What's the best thing that happened to you this week?" it not only sparks positivity, but also gives them a chance to reflect on something meaningful, creating a memorable interaction.
That's a fantastic point, Jennifer. Open-ended questions also help avoid one-word answers, which can sometimes make the conversation feel stagnant. For example, instead of asking, "Do you like this event?" you could say, "What do you think about this event so far?"
Another benefit of open-ended questions is that they often lead to follow-up opportunities. If someone says, "I tried a new recipe this weekend," you can ask, "What did you cook? Was it easy to make?" This keeps the dialogue flowing naturally.
Follow-up questions are essential for building rapport. They show that you're not just listening but are genuinely interested in their experiences. For instance, if they mention a trip, you could ask, "What was your favorite part of the trip? Would you recommend it?"
And don't forget to balance your questions with your own input. While it's great to ask open-ended questions, sharing your thoughts or similar experiences helps create a two-way exchange, making the conversation feel more engaging and collaborative.
That's right, Jennifer. A good conversation is always a balance between listening and sharing. Open-ended questions are the key to unlocking interesting stories and connections, but your enthusiasm and engagement are what make those moments truly memorable.
A common challenge in small talk is when the conversation feels one-sided. If the other person isn't contributing much, it can feel awkward. One way to handle this is by sharing a bit more about yourself to give them something to build on, like saying, "I've been exploring local cafes lately. Do you have any favorite spots around here?"
That's an excellent strategy, Jennifer. Sometimes people just need a little encouragement to open up. You could also try asking about topics they might find relatable or interesting, like hobbies, current events, or local recommendations. For example, "Have you been to any good restaurants recently?" works well.
Absolutely, Thomas. And if they still seem hesitant, you can pivot the conversation to something more lighthearted. Mentioning an amusing personal anecdote or talking about a popular show or movie can help them relax. For instance, "I just watched a hilarious comedy last weekend. Have you seen anything good lately?"
Humor is a great way to ease tension. Even something as simple as commenting on the situation you're in can work, like saying, "This event is so well organized. What do you think about the turnout?" It's neutral and invites them to share their opinion without pressure.
Another tip is to watch for their body language. If they seem distracted or uncomfortable, try steering the conversation to a safer or more engaging topic. A question like, "What's your favorite way to unwind after a busy week?" often brings out thoughtful responses.
Body language speaks volumes, Jennifer. If they're giving short answers but smiling, they might just be shy. Showing patience and keeping your tone friendly can help. Saying, "I'm always curious about people's weekend plans. What's been the highlight of yours recently?" keeps things open and non-intimidating.
And don't forget to keep the mood light. Small talk is about connection, not interrogation. Sometimes acknowledging the awkwardness itself can break the ice. A playful comment like, "I always find it tricky to choose a topic at these events," can make the other person feel more at ease.
That's so true, Jennifer. A little vulnerability can go a long way in making others feel comfortable. Small talk isn't about perfection, it's about showing genuine interest and creating a space where both people can feel heard and valued.
Let's dive into the idea of matching energy during small talk. Matching energy means aligning your tone, enthusiasm, and pace with the person you're talking to. If someone is soft-spoken, being overly loud might feel jarring. Instead, try to reflect their calm demeanor.
Matching energy is such a useful skill, Jennifer. It shows empathy and helps build rapport. For instance, if someone is excitedly talking about a recent achievement, mirror their enthusiasm by saying, "That sounds amazing. How did you manage to pull it off?"
Exactly, Thomas. Matching energy doesn't mean copying someone, it's about creating a comfortable rhythm. If they're speaking slowly and thoughtfully, responding in a similar way can make the conversation feel more natural. A response like, "That's a great point. Tell me more about your experience," works well.
Right, Jennifer, and it's not just about tone, it's also about content. If someone starts talking about their interests, like gardening or travel, you can show genuine curiosity by asking follow-up questions. For example, "What's the most interesting place you've visited recently?" Keeps things engaging.
Another aspect of matching energy is timing. If someone seems reflective, don't rush to fill every pause. Letting moments of silence linger slightly can encourage them to open up more. You could follow up with, "It seems like that's something you've thought a lot about, am I right?"
Pausing can be powerful, Jennifer. It creates space for deeper responses and shows that you're actively listening. At the same time, if someone is high energy and talkative, matching their pace by asking lively questions like, "What's been the most exciting part of your day?" keeps the vibe upbeat.
And remember, matching energy also helps in group settings. If you're part of a larger conversation, observing the group's dynamic and aligning your tone and content with the flow can help you contribute more effectively. For example, adding light humor if the group is laughing can enhance connection.
Group dynamics are key, Jennifer. Adjusting to the group's tone, whether serious or casual, shows social awareness. Whether it's a quiet one-on-one or a lively group chat, matching energy creates harmony and strengthens communication in any context.
Another critical skill in mastering small talk is recognizing when and how to transition topics. Sometimes a conversation stalls, and smoothly moving to a new subject can revive it. A simple way to transition is by connecting it to what was just discussed.
That's a great point, Jennifer. For example, if someone is talking about their weekend plans and mentions a restaurant, you could transition by saying, "Speaking of food, have you ever tried cooking anything adventurous at home?" It feels natural and keeps things flowing.
Exactly, Thomas. Another approach is to use situational cues. If you're at an event and there's live music, you might say, "This band is incredible." Do you enjoy live performances? These transitions feel organic because they tie into the environment around you.
Situational cues are so useful, Jennifer. They also work in professional settings. For example, if someone mentions a project deadline, you could ask, "What strategies do you use to stay organized during busy times?" It keeps the focus relevant and engaging.
And if you want to shift to something completely new, using bridge phrases like "by the way" or "this reminds me of" can help. For instance, "By the way, have you been following any interesting news lately?" gives a fresh direction without feeling abrupt.
That's a solid strategy, Jennifer. Another smooth transition is to recall something the person mentioned earlier. For example, earlier, you mentioned you love hiking. "What's the best trail you've been on recently?" It shows attentiveness and re-energizes the discussion.
Being attentive is key. Noticing little details in what someone says helps you find natural connections. If they mention a hobby or interest, you can steer the conversation toward it. For instance, you said you're into photography. Do you prefer landscapes or portraits?
Absolutely, Jennifer. Mastering transitions keeps conversations lively and avoids those awkward lulls. Whether you're connecting topics using cues or revisiting earlier points, smooth transitions make you a more dynamic and confident conversationalist.
When you're transitioning to a new topic, being mindful of the other person's interest is essential. If you sense they're losing focus or interest, gently pivot by asking an open-ended question like, "What's something you're really passionate about these days?" This approach is non-intrusive yet engaging.
That's a great observation, Jennifer. Asking about passions or recent experiences helps redirect the conversation naturally. For instance, if someone seems distracted, you could say, "I noticed you're really thoughtful. What's been on your mind recently?" It opens the door to meaningful dialogue.
It's also worth noting that humor can be an excellent tool for transitions. A light-hearted comment or a funny observation like, "Wow, this coffee tastes stronger than my alarm clock," can create a relaxed atmosphere, making it easier to shift topics while keeping the conversation enjoyable.
Humor is fantastic, Jennifer. It's universal and helps break barriers. Adding a playful twist when changing the subject keeps the interaction fresh. For example, after a chuckle, you might ask, "Speaking of caffeine, are you more of a morning person or a night owl?" It's casual and inviting.
Another way to transition smoothly is by summarizing what's been discussed and introducing a new idea. You might say, "It's been so interesting hearing about your travels. That reminds me, I've always wondered what's your favorite way to document those adventures. It feels seamless."
Summarizing is brilliant, Jennifer. It acknowledges what they've shared and keeps the momentum going. Similarly, transitioning with curiosity works well. For instance, your perspective on that is so thoughtful. Do you apply the same approach to other areas of your life? Deepens the exchange.
Transitions are an art, and practice makes perfect. Over time, you'll learn to read people's cues better. Pay attention to their tone and body language to determine when a shift is needed. This attentiveness shows empathy and makes you a more skilled communicator.
Absolutely, Jennifer. Being observant and adjusting based on someone's comfort level strengthens the connection. Whether through humor, curiosity, or thoughtful questions, mastering transitions is all about maintaining flow and making conversations enriching for both sides.
Let's talk about small talk in professional settings, Thomas. Networking events, for instance, can feel intimidating for many. One key tip is to start with something relevant to the event. For example, "What inspired you to attend this conference?" works as an easy opener.
Great point, Jennifer. Professional small talk thrives on relevance. Asking about someone's role or their take on the event's theme can spark meaningful discussions. Questions like, "What's the most exciting thing you've learned here so far?" keep the focus engaging and constructive.
And don't forget to add a touch of personality to professional conversations. Sharing a brief story, such as, "I remember my first conference, it was overwhelming but inspiring," makes you relatable. Follow it with, "What's your experience been like so far?" to invite their input.
Stories are powerful, Jennifer. They humanize the conversation, making it more than just an exchange of credentials. Another tactic is to express genuine admiration. Saying, "I noticed you've got a great way of explaining complex ideas. How do you approach it?" fosters goodwill and dialogue.
Compliments work wonders, Thomas, especially when they're specific and sincere. Additionally, linking the conversation back to shared goals or challenges can help build rapport. Phrases like, "We're all here to learn what's the biggest takeaway you're hoping for," encourage collaboration.
Collaboration is a great focus, Jennifer. It turns small talk into a gateway for potential partnerships or mentorships. Phrases like, "I'm curious, what's been your proudest professional accomplishment?" allow the other person to share something meaningful, enriching the exchange.
Small talk in professional settings is an opportunity to leave a lasting impression. Even something as simple as ending the conversation with, "It's been a pleasure speaking with you. What's the best way to stay in touch?" ensures continuity and leaves a positive note.
Ending on a high note is crucial, Jennifer. It shows professionalism and interest in future collaboration. Whether it's exchanging ideas, learning about their journey, or sharing your own insights, professional small talk is a skill that opens doors and strengthens networks.
Now, Thomas, let's explore cultural considerations in small talk. In some cultures, personal questions might feel intrusive, while in others, they're a sign of genuine interest. It's always wise to start with neutral topics like weather, food, or local events to gauge comfort.
Cultural sensitivity is vital. Jennifer, for instance, in many Western cultures, casual humor and light topics are appreciated, while in others, starting with formal greetings or discussing mutual connections shows respect. Adapting your approach makes a significant difference.
Exactly, Thomas. Another thing to note is the pace of conversation. In some cultures, quick exchanges are common, while others prefer more reflective pauses. Matching their pace shows attentiveness and helps avoid misunderstandings, especially in cross-cultural interactions.
Reflective pauses are key. Jennifer, they also give you time to consider your next question thoughtfully. Another tip is to show interest in their culture. Asking something like, "What's a unique tradition or custom you enjoy?" can lead to fascinating and respectful discussions.
Showing interest is such a great way to build bridges, Thomas. It also helps to be mindful of topics to avoid, like politics or personal income, unless the other person initiates. Keeping the conversation light and respectful creates a positive atmosphere for small talk.
Staying neutral is a safe approach, Jennifer. Additionally, using inclusive language is important. For instance, saying, "What's something that brings people together in your community?" acknowledges their perspective without making assumptions, fostering openness.
Openness is the foundation of meaningful small talk, Thomas. By being curious yet respectful, you create a space where people feel valued and understood. This is particularly important in today's interconnected world, where cultural diversity is part of everyday communication.
Absolutely, Jennifer. Embracing diversity and adapting your small talk style to different cultures not only improves your communication skills but also deepens connections. It's all about being empathetic, adaptable, and genuinely interested in learning about others. Thank you for joining us today. Small talk may seem simple, but it's such an important skill for building connections. We hope these tips inspire you to practice and improve. Yes, thanks for listening. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to grow. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share. We'll see you next time for more English learning tips and discussions. Take care.